There's no elegant way to say this. I fell in love with a married woman. I wasn't a homewrecker. No smirking villain with a leather jacket and an evil master plan. I was a 38-year-old history teacher with a stable job, a receding hairline, and furniture that came with assembly instructions. Her name was Elise. She walked into my night school class like she'd wandered in by mistake. It was Intro to European Monarchies, a class usually filled with retirees or insomniacs. Elise was either. Sharp eyes, calm energy, blouse ironed. She took notes. Stayed after to ask questions, real ones, not the, "Will this be on the test?" kind. We talked. Then talked more. Then had coffee. She wore a ring, and I respected that. I never crossed the line. Until she did. One evening after class, we were talking about Queen Victoria's endless mourning, and she just said it, like a confession wrapped in history. I think I'm stuck in my own version of grief. I didn't ask. But she kept going. Her marriage? Already over. Doug, her husband, hadn't touched her heart or her hand in years. Their daughter, Ava, was 17, angry, and laser-focused on blaming Elise for everything. Elise said she felt like a ghost, visible, but not seen. I told her she deserved better. A few weeks later, she told Doug she was leaving. A few weeks after that, she moved in with me. Cue the meltdown. The Instagram post came first, a moody selfie of Ava with the caption, "You stole my mom." I didn't reply. Neither did Elise. But she cried in the bathroom that night. For a long time. I thought things would calm down eventually. I figured once Ava saw we weren't some scandal, she'd understand. Or at least tolerate us. Spoiler, she didn't. We invited her over for dinner, neutral territory, peace offering. I cleaned the apartment. Bought her favorite snacks. Tried to make it feel safe. She arrived late. Didn't say hi. Dropped her bag like she was inspecting a crime scene. Then, "So this is where you moved?" Elise smiled gently. "It's small, but it's ours." Ava turned to me. "Do you even own a plant?" It wasn't a question. More like a weird insult. I ignored it and made tacos. Elise said they were her favorite. Ava didn't eat. Instead, she blasted TikToks at full volume while Elise tried to start a conversation. I saw Elise wince. Saw her shoulders tense. Finally, she tried. "Honey, could you? I don't owe you anything," Ava snapped. "You abandoned us for this loser." Elise looked like she'd been slapped. I kept my voice calm. "I know this is hard. But your mom didn't stop loving you. You think this is a joke?" Ava shot back. "You think stealing someone's mom is funny?" That's when she stood up and shouted it loud enough to shake the dishes. "You stole my mom!" Then she left. Just like that. Slammed the door behind her like a courtroom drama. Elise sat at the table for a while, staring at the untouched plate across from her. We washed dishes in silence. She didn't say anything at first. Then, softly, "I don't think she's ever going to forgive me." I wanted to say, "She will." But I wasn't sure anymore. Instead, I said, "If me being here is making it worse, I can leave." She shook her head. "No. You've done nothing wrong." But the tired look in her eyes said something else. And that night, while she slept beside me, I lay awake knowing exactly what I needed to do. Not to punish her. Not out of guilt. But because someone had already made up their mind about me, and Elise hadn't yet realized what it would cost her to defend me. I didn't pack much. Just what I came with. 3 shirts, 1 laptop, my ancient coffee maker, and the beat-up paperback copy of The Count of Monte Cristo I never actually finished. It felt poetic, in a sad, overthinking kind of way. I left Elise a note on the kitchen counter. Not giving up. Just giving space. I thought about writing more. Something emotional. Something that would soften the blow. But anything more would have felt manipulative, like a guilt trip disguised as poetry. Elise didn't need that. She needed room to see clearly. When I closed the door, I didn't expect her to come running after me. And she didn't. Not that morning. Not the next one, but at 2:13 a.m. On the third night, my phone lit up with a single message. She's smiling. I'm not. I stared at it for 10 minutes before putting the phone down. She didn't follow up. I didn't reply. I moved back into my old apartment. The one I never fully left. I hadn't even taken my posters off the wall. My landlord was thrilled, probably because I still owed him for 2 months of storage rent. Everything smelled like dust and unresolved dreams. I unpacked in under 10 minutes. The silence hit louder than I expected. No hum of Elise's hairdryer. No clinking from her nightly tea ritual. No off-key humming while she folded laundry like it was a sacred art. Just me. And the faucet that still dripped. I stared at the ceiling for hours. I didn't cry. But I did talk, to the ceiling, to the universe, to no one in particular. Hope you're happy now, Ava. I muttered. You win. Back at Elise's place, well, our old place, things didn't go as smoothly as Ava must have imagined. Because when you win a war by driving someone away, you still have to live in the ashes afterward. I didn't see it myself, but Elise told me later what happened the morning she woke up and I was gone. She came into the kitchen, saw the note, and stood there for 20 minutes holding it. Then Ava walked in pajamas, smug and self-satisfied, and said, "Guess he couldn't handle it." Elise didn't yell. Didn't even look at her. Just walked past her. Sat on the balcony. And didn't speak for an hour. Later, when Ava tried to talk, Elise interrupted with, "You didn't get your mom back. You just made her quiet." Oof. That line hit me harder than I expected when she told me. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. For the next few days, I stayed busy being numb. Went back to teaching. Smiled at my students like my insides weren't made of broken light bulbs. Even got invited to a staff birthday lunch. Sat there eating cold lasagna while everyone laughed at inside jokes I'd missed. One of my coworkers, Gerald, leaned in and said, "You look like you just buried a dog and didn't tell anyone." I blinked. "Thanks, Gerald." He nodded, sipping a Diet Coke. "Just sayin'. You want to talk, I got tequila in my trunk." That was the nicest thing anyone said to me all week. Then, on Sunday, Elise called. Not text. Not voicemail. A real call. I hesitated before answering. Let it ring 4 times. But when I picked up, she was already mid-sentence. "I know it's unfair. I know I made you carry too much." She sounded raw. Like her voice had scraped against 1,000 unspoken apologies. "I'm not asking you to come back," she said. I want you to know you weren't wrong. About any of it. About her. About me." Silence. Then she added, "You were the only one trying to build something real. It wasn't a grand speech. It didn't come with flowers or background violins. But it cracked something open in me. I didn't say much. Just one word. Yeah." And she whispered, "I miss your coffee." That's when I almost lost it. Because Elise never complimented my coffee. She said it tasted like a mistake with caffeine. So that meant everything. I didn't go back that night. I didn't pack a bag. But I did put the Count of Monte Cristo on my nightstand again. Because somewhere, deep down, I had a feeling this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Ava thought things would go back to normal. She really did. She even made a post the day after I left. "House is finally quiet again, nail polish #peace." The comments were a mix of enablers and clueless classmates. "Ugh, finally! Good for you, girl. Now get your mama back," face with steam from nose. What they didn't see, what none of them could have known, was that Elise didn't come back. Not really. Sure, she was there physically. But emotionally? Gone. Like someone had dimmed the lights inside her and lost the switch. According to Elise, who told me this weeks later, when she could finally talk about it, Ava's victory party didn't last long. At first, Elise tried. She cooked Ava's favorite dinner, salmon with crispy potatoes. Ava barely touched it. "Did you add lemon this time?" she asked flatly. Elise smiled. Like always. Ava didn't look up from her phone. Tastes weird. Next night, Elise invited her to watch their old comfort show. Something they used to binge together when Ava was younger. Why are you pretending everything's okay? Ava said. Elise blinked. I just thought we could reconnect. Ava shrugged. I don't want to reconnect. I want things to go back to how they were before you ran off with that guy. Elise didn't reply. Just stood up, turned off the TV, and went to bed. That was the first night Ava ate cereal for dinner. It wouldn't be the last. Meanwhile, on my side of town, things were still hollow. I didn't miss the chaos. Or the drama. But I missed Elise in the tiny, stupid ways. Like how she used to leave little sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. Wear the blue tie. You look hot in it. Remember, kings get beheaded. So be nice today. Or how she always added a ridiculous amount of cinnamon to oatmeal and called it personality seasoning. I missed the way she folded her arms when she was annoyed but trying not to smile. I missed the way she took up space, not loudly, but confidently. It wasn't about being in love with some fantasy woman. I was in love with her, the woman who cried during documentaries and cursed at printers. And I knew, deep down, Ava didn't hate me. She hated what I represented. That her mom could be happy without her. That her mom could choose herself. 2 weeks passed before I saw Elise again. I was walking home from the grocery store, trying to juggle a bag that had just split down the side, because paper bags are a lie, when I saw her sitting on the bench across from my apartment. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Wearing that giant cardigan she used to steal from me. She stood when she saw me. Your oat milk's dripping, she said softly. I looked down. It was. I also lost the eggs, I replied. A pause. Then she smiled. Wanna talk? She asked. Only if you promise not to blame me for the oat milk. We sat in silence for a bit. She didn't look sad. Just weathered. Like someone who'd spent too many days trying to hold up a crumbling ceiling. I thought if I stayed, she said, Ava would come back. Did she? She's physically there. But it's like living with a very bitter ghost. I nodded slowly. She's still 17. Elise snorted. That's no excuse. I was 17 once. I didn't declare emotional war on my mom's boyfriend. I smiled. Were you also queen of petty Instagram captions? She's got a whole fan club, by the way. They call me Elise the Betrayer. Catchy. She didn't laugh. Instead, she looked at me and said, You leaving didn't break me. But it broke something between me and her. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. Because I never wanted Elise to lose her daughter. I just didn't want to be treated like a landmine for existing. She pulled something out of her bag, a folded note. It was the one I left on the kitchen counter. Not giving up. Just giving space. She smoothed it out on her lap like it was some ancient artifact. I've read this 20 times, she said. I still don't know what you meant. I looked at her for a long time. Then answered. It meant I love you enough not to make you choose. She swallowed hard. I'm tired of choosing, she whispered. And that's when I knew. She finally saw it. That Ava hadn't forced me out. Elise had let me go. And now she wasn't sure how to get me back. After our bench conversation, Elise didn't move in with me. She didn't run back with a suitcase and a dramatic kiss like some rom-com ending. Instead, she went home. To her daughter. To the apartment with the now stale salmon and the passive-aggressive silence. But something was different. She didn't tell Ava she'd seen me. Didn't announce that she was rethinking everything. She just stopped chasing. It started small. No more. Let's do dinner. Texts. No more effort to guess what Ava might be in the mood for. Just 2 separate dinners made at the same time, one plated, one boxed. Ava noticed. Oh, we're doing separate meals now, she said one evening. Elise didn't look up from her plate. We've sort of been doing that already. Ava rolled her eyes. Cool. Passive aggression. Classic mom move. Elise didn't respond. Didn't flinch. Didn't argue. Just ate her roasted veggies in peace. And that silence? It rattled Ava more than any fight ever had. Next came the calendar. Elise had always scheduled her life around Ava: school events, exams, dentist appointments she wasn't even invited to anymore. Now, she bought tickets to an art show on a Wednesday night. By herself. Didn't mention it until Ava walked in and found her putting on mascara. "Where are you going?" Ava asked, suspicious like Elise was sneaking out of her own house. "El Greco exhibit." Ava blinked. "Seriously?" Elise smiled. "Seriously. You hate museums." "I used to say that because no one else wanted to go." Then she picked up her purse and left. No follow-up. "No, I'll be back by 10. Just gone. I found out about all this from Elise herself, 2 weeks after that bench talk, when she invited me over for coffee. I don't know what I'm doing," she admitted, pouring way too much creamer into my cup like always. "But I know I'm tired of negotiating my presence in my own life." I watched her move around the kitchen. Slower. Softer. She looked lighter. Not happy. But less burdened. "She still slams the door," Elise added. "Still makes jabs. Still talks about Doug like he's a war hero who survived being married to a witch." She sat across from me. "But now..." I just let her. I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" Elise sipped her coffee. "Really?" A pause. Then, "I'm not her villain anymore. I'm just background noise she can't mute." That should have been heartbreaking. But weirdly it wasn't. It was clarity. Meanwhile, Ava started noticing the shift. Noticed her mom was reading again. Cooking weird things like mushroom risotto and Moroccan chicken, things Ava wouldn't touch with gloves on. She noticed the laughter too. Not between them, but through the wall. Elise had started calling her sister again. Started texting old friends. Started being someone again, outside of being mom. Ava didn't know what to do with that. She couldn't yell about it. Couldn't throw a tantrum over her mom, living. So she tried sarcasm. "Midlife crisis? Is that what this is?" Elise just nodded. "Possibly. But the good kind. Should I be worried you're gonna buy a motorcycle? I was thinking more like a kayak." Gross. And still, Elise didn't fight. Didn't explain. Didn't overparent. She just kept living. A week later, Elise called me again. "Want to grab lunch?" she asked. We met at a place that had exactly 3 items on the menu and chairs made from reclaimed church pews. Very on brand. We sat outside. She didn't wear makeup. Her laugh came easier. Halfway through I asked, "What changed?" She didn't dodge the question. "I used to think motherhood meant martyrdom. That if I wasn't sacrificing something, I was doing it wrong." She stirred her drink slowly. "But I realized, if I keep killing parts of myself to make Ava comfortable, there won't be anything left of me when she finally grows up." That line stuck with me the rest of the day. Because I'd watched her twist herself into a version of acceptable for so long, and now she was reclaiming her volume. And Ava? Ava was finally learning what silence actually felt like, when it wasn't just dramatic, but real. Ava didn't like being ignored. Not in a spoiled, foot-stomping way, though she had her moments. It was deeper than that. She had built her entire identity around being important enough to disrupt. If she was angry, the room changed. If she sulked, people apologized. If she cried, plans got cancelled. But now, Elise wasn't bending anymore. And Ava had no idea what to do with that power vacuum. It all came to a head on a Tuesday. Random, unremarkable Tuesday. Elise had just gotten home from a long day at work, some management seminar full of icebreakers and stale muffins. She was tired. Hungry. Ready to microwave something regrettable and sit on the couch. She opened the front door and froze. There, in the middle of the living room, was Ava. Holding a folder. Her folder. Elise's journal. Her private writings. Her reflections from the months she spent falling for me, doubting herself, questioning everything. Ava had found it in the closet. and she'd read all of it. I didn't know you hated me this much, Ava said coldly, holding the folder like it was a weapon. Elise blinked. That's private. Ava stepped forward. Oh, I know. Private thoughts about how you wanted to leave even before you met him. About how you wished you never had a kid so young. About how being my mom felt like a full-time PR job. Elise's face strained of color. You read my journal? You left it in the house. Our house. Elise's voice was quiet but firm. That's not how this works. That's not an excuse. Ava tossed the folder onto the table. Papers spilled like accusations. I guess I finally know how you really feel. Ava snapped. I'm just a mistake you keep trying to decorate. Elise didn't yell. Didn't cry. Instead, she picked up one of the pages, carefully, like it might disintegrate, and said, I wrote those things when I was hurting. When I didn't know who I was outside of being your mom. Ava scoffed. So it's my fault you were miserable? No, Elise said softly. It's my fault I let being your mom be the only part of me that existed. That silenced the room. Ava didn't know how to fight that. She stood there, blinking, like someone just pulled the ground out from under her. You're blaming me, she said, but the venom was gone. I'm holding myself accountable. Elise corrected. Because I raised you to believe I didn't need boundaries. That I didn't need privacy. That love meant being available to you 24/7, no matter the cost. She met Ava's eyes. And that wasn't love. That was erasure. Ava's lip quivered. And then, the voice cracked. So what now? She whispered. Elise sat down on the couch. I don't know. But I do know this. I won't keep performing motherhood like it's a punishment. I love you. Always have. But if you can't see me as a human being, then we're not a family, we're a hostage situation. Ava didn't storm off. She didn't scream. She just left. Quietly. Elise sat there, surrounded by pages of her own handwriting, and realized something strange. She didn't feel guilty. She felt relief. That night she called me. Didn't even say hello. Just, she read it. I didn't need to ask what. She said I hated her. I waited. And do you? I could almost hear her shaking her head. No. But I don't want to live with someone who believes I do, and uses that as an excuse to hurt me. That was the moment. The shift. The point of no return. I asked. So, what now? She exhaled. Now I pack. Elise didn't pack like someone escaping. No frantic duffel bags. No slamming drawers. She moved through the apartment like someone making peace with a place she'd already left 100 times in her head. She folded her sweaters. Wiped down the bathroom mirror. Even cleaned the inside of the microwave. I want to leave it better than I found it, she said when I asked why she was scrubbing crusted marinara off the glass plate. You lived here for 10 years. She smiled sadly. Exactly. Ava wasn't home when Elise left. She timed it that way. Not to be dramatic, but to avoid turning the hallway into another stage for one last guilt trip. She left 2 things on the kitchen counter. 1, her key. 2, a note that read, You don't have to understand me to love me. But if you ever want to know me, I'll be somewhere safe. She didn't sign it. Didn't need to. When she showed up at my door, suitcase in one hand, takeout bag in the other, I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside. She dropped the suitcase, kicked off her shoes, and exhaled so deeply I thought the walls might breathe with her. You okay? I asked. She shook her head. Not even close. Then added, But I will be. We ate dinner in silence. Halfway through, she said, You still don't own a plant. I own a cactus now. I muttered. She grinned. Liar. Meanwhile, Ava came home to silence. No footsteps. No clinking dishes. No chili simmering on the stove. Just quiet. She walked through each room like she expected her mom to jump out from behind the couch yelling, Gotcha! But there was no punchline. Just a vacuum of presence. She saw the note. Read it. Reread it. Then read it again like the meaning would change if she squinted hard enough. It didn't. Ava didn't call that night. Didn't text. But Elise saw her typing something in the family chat, the 3 dots blinking in, blinking out. Then nothing. That was more honest than anything she could have written. The next morning, Elise started unpacking. Not just her suitcase, but her rhythm. She made coffee. Real coffee. Not the gritty instant stuff she used to settle for. She opened the windows. Let the light in. She even put on music while folding laundry, Aretha Franklin, then Fleetwood Mac. She moved like someone remembering how to take up space. And I just stayed close. Not fixing anything. Not trying to be her savior. Just available. Ava didn't reach out for 5 days. When she finally did, it wasn't a phone call. It was a voice memo. And Elise didn't play it right away. She stared at the notification for 3 hours before finally pressing play. Ava's voice was shaky. I thought if I got rid of him, I'd get my mom back. But I don't even know what back means anymore. A pause. I don't hate you. I'm just scared you're never coming back. Another pause. I don't know how to be your daughter if you're not my mom. Elise listened. Twice. Then set her phone down without replying. Not because she didn't care. But because sometimes the most honest thing you can say is nothing, and let someone else sit with their own silence for a while. It happened on a Sunday. Elise was halfway through making waffles, because trauma demands carbs, when the doorbell rang. No call. No warning. Just 3 short rings and silence. She opened it to find Ava standing there, backpack slung over one shoulder, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands like armor. No makeup. No attitude. Just uncertain. I didn't know if you'd open, she said quietly. I didn't know you'd knock, Elise replied. They stared at each other for a long moment, long enough for the waffle iron to beep behind them like an awkward third wheel. Elise stepped aside. Ava entered. She didn't sit. Didn't wander the apartment, didn't comment on the plants or the framed picture of Elise and me in front of a food truck from 6 months ago. Just stood by the window, hands clenched in her sleeves. This place smells like actual food, she muttered. Elise raised an eyebrow. That's because I'm actually feeding myself. Ava nodded. Right. They sat at the small table. No music. No distractions. Just 2 people who used to be mother and daughter, trying to figure out what they were now. I didn't come to yell, Ava said. I didn't invite you to. Ava swallowed hard. I read the journal because I wanted proof. Of. I don't know. That you were wrong. That you regretted everything. But all I saw was someone drowning. Elise blinked. I thought I was keeping you afloat. Ava added. But maybe I was holding you under. She didn't cry. But her voice cracked. Elise leaned forward. You weren't the water, Ava. You were just the one I kept treading for. A long pause. I thought loving you meant never putting myself first. But all that did was teach you that love means self-erasure. And that's not fair to either of us. Ava's shoulders sank. I don't know how to undo what I did. You don't have to undo it, Elise said. You just have to understand it. They sat in silence again. But this time, it wasn't hostile. It was processing. Then Ava asked something unexpected. Do you love him? Elise didn't flinch. Yes. And does he love you? Unconditionally. Ava didn't nod. Didn't argue. She just stared at her hands. I think I hated him because he made you happier than I ever could. Elise looked at her. Really looked. Honey, she said gently, it was never your job to make me happy. You're not a substitute for a partner. You're not a placeholder for purpose. Ava bit her lip. You don't hate me, do you? No, Elise said. But I did resent who I became around you, because I let myself become invisible. And when he saw me, really saw me, I realized what I'd been missing. Ava nodded. Then asked, Are you coming back? Elise took a breath. No. That word hung in the room like a dropped glass. I'm not going back to that version of myself, Elise clarified. And if I live in that house again, I'll become her. And I don't want to. Ava blinked away a tear. So that's it. Elise stood and walked over. Placed a hand gently on her daughter's shoulder. No, baby. That's beginning again. But this time, without pretending. They didn't hug. Not right away. But when Ava left 2 hours later, she turned back at the door and said, Maybe next Sunday? Elise smiled. Maybe bring waffles. 2 weeks later, Ava visited again. No drama. No folded arms. Just her, showing up. She brought croissants this time. They sat on the balcony, barely talking. Elise watered her plants. Ava scrolled quietly, occasionally asking random questions. What's that one called? Snake plant? It's kinda ugly. Thanks. It's thriving. For once, the silence between them wasn't angry. Just human. Then, as Ava was leaving, she paused at the door. Do you still think I blame you for leaving? Elise locked eyes with her. I think you're learning what it means when someone doesn't come back just because you're sorry. That stunned Ava for a moment. Not because it was cruel, but because it was true. 3 days later, Ava saw something that cemented it. Elise had posted her first photo with me in nearly a year. It wasn't posed. We were standing in line at a food truck, same one from before, both laughing, mid-conversation, mid-bite. The caption? She said I was stolen? But I was finally found. Ava didn't comment. Didn't share it. But she stared at it for 10 minutes. Because deep down, she finally saw her mother. Not stolen. Not ruined. Just gone, and glowing.